So its primary purpose is online meeting. But as we've noticed, and Jeanette just shared it with us, it's a great platform to keep in touch with your family members who may not necessarily be able to either be in the same room with you or they could be clear across country.
Absolutely. And having said that, and I'm from a super, super large family, my immediate family, my parents had 8 siblings. And we've been conference calling for quite a while now. We do our sibling chat every week to check in with everyone and to make sure that we're all okay. And so I've been challenging them all to try Zoom. So I don't think there's anyone in my immediate family. Let's see. Everybody is 50 and over.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Half were okay with it. The other half was, no, not going to happen.
Right. That was
But
kind
I
of.
think we just crossed that threshold to where last week most agreed that they would Zoom. And this is something that we can talk about. So you're telling us about it. It's video conferencing, and you have the beauty of using all of your devices, and so you have quick access to it. I got an email yesterday that Zoom is saying there's an even quicker way in order to connect to Zoom. So I didn't want to try anything before this show. So we'll play with that. We'll play with that option after the show. What did you say? If it's
Yeah,
don't fix it. So that takes us to Zoom. So tell us a little bit about this whole setup and how 4 of us are able to see each other and how we are streaming this on Zoom and on Facebook using our devices.
Absolutely. Great question. What you do in essence is you log in. Think of it just like a conference room that someone has invited you to attend in a meeting. You walk into the conference room, you want to have the same etiquette or the same behavior, professional behavior that you would if you were meeting with someone in person. The benefit is that you could do it with your bunny slippers.
Oh, that's too cute. Or you can do it with your kid next to you.
That's right. That's right. Comforts of home. That's exactly right. So you log in. If you are the host, you sign in, and that way you can invite other people, and then they can join in the conversation with you.
Well, I'm going to shoot to Jeanette for this because Jeanette had us on a Zoom. Now, Jeanette, did you also do Zoom, Facebook Live, and YouTube? Tell us a little bit about what you did.
No, so I actually, Zoom was simply the gateway I used for the conversation, but I used a couple of different programs to restream simultaneously to both to both Facebook and YouTube. So Zoom was simply used as a frame in one of my encoding programs that I used to build the other graphics around the frame and then to stream it. So again, it was it's hard to explain so that it makes sense. But let's just say that I was using an entirely different platform, and Zoom just allowed for me to have the interaction with the guests, but it wasn't what I used to stream to the Facebook and YouTube. And I had some glitches myself. You know, my broadcast yesterday didn't stream on YouTube because I deleted the stream. So there's such a big learning curve, even for those of us who know what we're doing. There's just so much, but what Zoom does offer that I think is great is that really easy to stream, function. You don't have to do it. What we did is what professional production companies do. So I certainly wouldn't dare ask anyone to hold themselves to that bar of production within Zoom. But Zoom itself, what it was able to do with screen share and streaming, it's still just as good. And I've been doing that for my church now for the past couple of months.
And well, here's a perfect opportunity. Yeah. Those who are new to this, the novice, then you call the experts. You call Diva J at Dash. You call Dana at TNK. And that's really the premise behind our show, Let's Talk Business, is to make sure that we are having a conversation with individuals about a particular topic that's happening, hot topics. We usually try to bring awareness to what's happening in our community. Spend a lot of time talking about businesses. For over a year, Diva J has been teaching individuals how to brand their business. She's an expert, but yet we've been fortunate enough to bring on numerous experts in the field as well to make sure that we're covering all of those entities. But back to you, Dana. So you've gotten us up to Zoom. So we're doing video conferencing, but I'm looking at your back room looks like a graphic design, a picture versus we're live. And for sure, if you look at the four square, that's Daryl Johnson, and that's In Touch News.
Absolutely. So when you're in a video conference call or a meeting, the nice thing is it's some of the platforms, of course, Zoom is just one of them, but the likes of WebEx or GoToWebinar or even Facebook Workforce, I think is what it's called now.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Have their own capabilities of allowing you to either A, change your background, B, maybe blur your background. Skype does that very, very nicely. So that if you happen to be meeting in your kitchen, like I have been doing for the past 2 months, you don't necessarily know that I'm in my kitchen. So this is called a virtual background. So the neat thing I think about the virtual background is the following, and then Diva J, you probably have used the virtual background on a number of occasions. It's appropriate when it's appropriate. So depending on who I might be speaking to, I might change my background, and you can do it on the fly and actually.
Oh my goodness, look at that!
Right in the middle of a conversation. I'm also a member of a Toastmasters group. Cheryl, of course, knows all about that because she's also a member of the Talk of 5508 Toastmasters. So if I'm in a Toastmasters meeting, I might change my background to reflect that particular agenda. Now, I made this for Cheryl, so I'm waiting patiently to help her change her background.
Yes.
Look at that! Look at that! Well, and so, I love that. But you're saying, we're watching you. I mean, you're doing it as you're speaking. Right. We don't even see you navigating your keyboard. And right. So is this on the, let's see, the taskbar on a Zoom video call?
Yes.
Where can we find that feature?
When you are logged into your Zoom profile, and remember that they have both a free plan as well as a paid subscription. But when you're logged in, one of the options is to manipulate your video settings. And then literally there's an option called virtual background. So
that's probably the pay. That's probably the pay. I think that's why I had to switch from free to business.
That's exactly right. And I think if I remember correctly, Cheryl, with yours, we talked a little bit about it. One of the things that you'll probably notice is that you have to have a certain level of video card in your device or your.
Yes.
Yeah. So if it's i5 or earlier, let's give it a timeline here. So if we're talking about a PC or a laptop, if we're talking about one that may be a couple years old or more, you may have a little difficulty with the background, the virtual background, unless you're using a green screen. And a green screen basically is just a solid color backdrop. And again, Diva can definitely speak to this. It doesn't have to be green, but it is highly recommended that it's green. But I've run into lots of productions who just use like a black curtain, something that's solid, but white does not work for you. And if you're wearing green, it won't work really well for you if you actually use a green screen either.
Diva J and I just had this conversation, and I can see that my screen is frozen, but I'll continue talking. But just this morning, Diva J and I had a conversation about a green screen. And I remember about a year ago, we were doing a test of the green screen. And just so happened that day, I wore a melon green suit. And at the beginning of our little segment, it was beautiful. You could see the logo, the image we had in the background, and all of a sudden that blurriness just started. It was like Pac-Man came on the screen and just ate me alive.
The green screen can be tricky. It serves its purpose in production environments. It's great because you can superimpose anything and be anywhere in the world. And literally, again, just sit in your kitchen. So it's a very nice tool. But the virtual background is very powerful. And it can be really,
before we throw it back to Diva J, one of the things, and she can talk more about the production and the screens as well, because you do all of the structural stuff, and Jeanette is helping businesses pull it all together so it just looks like, as we talked about earlier, this is like a $5,000 job in pulling all of these features and elements and programs together. But before we throw it back to Diva J, I saw a beautiful, and you let me know, Dana, it was a beach scene, an ocean scene, and the water, it was as if this guy was on the beach. It wasn't a picture. It was just the movement of, look at you.
That it? Yeah.
It wasn't that one, but yes, the water was, and his waves were actually coming directly behind his back. And yep. So this is lunch and learn today. Now, Dana, where are these files and images that you automatically have stored up?
Definite. So with your Zoom account, free or otherwise, you will typically get just a few videos and pictures that you can use as virtual backgrounds, but you can also add your own. So the few that you've noticed that I use, for example, those with my company logo or maybe the positive thinking, I've kind of put those together myself. But again, you can definitely get a bunch of images wherever your particular image happens to be, stock photos, or you can create your own, and I create my own quite often.
I love that. I just love the fact that you can just touch and it's there. And so before we leave, you'll have to show us exactly where that option is. Diva J.
So I think that those are all great and important keys to using Zoom. I'm interested to hear your perspective, and I think a lot of groups need to hear this. People want to do these Zoom meetings where there's a lot of people, right? Ooh. So for example, my dad will be getting ordained to be a pastor in a couple of weeks. And so they want to do a virtual pastor's ordination ceremony. And so, Dana, I want you to speak to some of the protocols when you're doing an event with well over 10, 15, 20, 100 people. What are some of those things you need to remind your participants to do? And what are some of the things that the host of that may want to remember?
That is an excellent question. So to your point, one of the things that you always want to remember is the following. It's always important to consider that sharing a screen, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see this one. One of the trainings that I've been running, especially with the Zoom platform and some of the others, the meeting platform, is the importance of meeting etiquette. And I just refer to it as virtual meeting etiquette. As we alluded to a little earlier, it's always important to remember, just as you were meeting with someone in person, you want to remember a few things. So the tips that I often share for both hosts as well as participants is this. There are some etiquette protocols, some things that you want to keep in mind. And I think it will speak to your parent event as well. Try to avoid embarrassing mistakes, like if you're on camera, remember that you're on camera. Even if you're using a phone, a device, don't take it and walk around the house with it. You don't want people to necessarily see that you're moving around. Stay a little stationary. And try not to.
Great point.
I don't know if any of you have seen this, but there's a video on YouTube of someone in a Zoom meeting, and she needed to go to the restroom, and she took her Zoom meeting, her phone, into the restroom with her. She did not mute her mic, so you have to mind that microphone. Make sure that you know that you are on live. So make sure that you mute your mic or turn off your video where appropriate. Make sure, of course, that you test out the tech. Diva mentioned her experience last night. All of these meetings can be, because, right, you're virtual, and there's technology, there's internet connectivity. Anything could happen. So be prepared, but make sure that you check your audio, your video before you get started, and the software that you use to make sure that you are indeed presenting the way that you want. Communicate with your host. It's very important that you remember, again, just if you were meeting with someone in person, that you acknowledge that there is a host to a meeting. So don't just kind of jump in and start talking. The Zoom platform can typically only pick up one person's audio at once, even though it transitions pretty quickly. So you might want to utilize some of the communication tools like raising your hand. There's an option for that, or just utilizing the chat to ask a question or maybe even suggest something to a host. And last but not least, and it should be at the top of the list, always be professional. Get dressed. Don't meet from your bed. I see lots of people online. I've had a couple of webinars with USF and there were 80 people on screen, and I was amazed at the things that I saw in their video. Get dressed, be professional. And in all actuality, if you get dressed and you feel like you're going to work, you're going to act.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, those are amazing points. And to our Facebook family, we certainly hope those of you that are able to, I'm doing live on my device on my laptop Facebook, and then I also went live on my cellular device. So for those of you that are just seeing me, what I was trying to do was switch you over or turn my phone so you could also see. You can go to In Touch News and you can see us all together. I saw one of the comments that said, bring your guests in a little closer. So I'm going to flip the screen back so that you all can see all of it. But if you're on my actual page, then you should be able to catch all of us together. So I just popped back on to let you know that I had reversed my device because I wanted you all to see the actual screen and see all of us as we were doing this. And so I'll put it back to that screen, and hopefully it'll be a little clearer for you. Zoom etiquette. That is so apropos, Dana, having seen so many different broadcasts now, and you're right, I probably saw the one that you saw, or the gentleman standing up to go get his coffee and he was dressed from top up. I love those points. So first of all, if it's business, and even if it's not business, just think about your surroundings. If we're in your home, but you don't want us to be in your home, put up one of those beautiful images, and that, or your picture. There's another one. I think the very first one that I did, and I set my Zoom to where it's just automatic now. If depending upon where I am, and if I need to flip it, I can. So I appreciate this design that you've created just for Let's Talk Business with SJC, and to have both of you on sharing such important information. So Zoom etiquette, if we take nothing else away from this show today, get dressed, be professional, and you'll do okay. You'll do okay. Well, Diva J, what would you add to Zoom etiquette?
So there's two things that I would add, I think, and I hope it's not, and if it is, that's great. Around communication, I manage the Zoom interaction, as I mentioned, from my church on Wednesdays for Bible study, Sundays for Sunday school. And I have now gotten the congregation to realize, we all say amen in church. We all want to, just acknowledge what's going on. And I've now had them using the comment box in Zoom to do just that. So instead of unmuting, which is another thing, mute your microphone is another important thing. If you're not talking, even if your environment is quiet, it's still important to mute your microphone because there's ambient sound. It could be a siren that goes past your window that Zoom will pick up. And so I first encourage everyone to mute their microphone when they're not speaking. And then secondly, using the comment box, if there's just something you want to just say, by the way, X, Y, and Z, or if you have a question, using the comment box to ask questions, it just helps with not disrupting the stream of the broadcast. Because every time a person speaks or sound is picked up on a microphone in the host view, it goes to that person. So you could be at your desk typing something else, but this type sound,
yes,
will pick up and everyone's going to see you typing, and you will be typing over the host that's trying to present. So muting your microphone is a big one. If you're the host of a Zoom meeting, you have the capability to mute other people's microphones. So in some meetings, I even get to a point, if it's a lot of people, where I say, I am muting everyone's microphone as the host of the Zoom call, and I will unmute you if I see your finger, and once the host has acknowledged, it's your time to speak. So the person controlling the Zoom has a lot of power, but you also have to make sure that your participants are all on one accord so that they don't try to go around or unmute or disrupt the production.
Agreed.
Well, I appreciate that. And Dana, if you could switch, do you have another screen coming after? And if so, hold tight. One of the things that Jeanette said, and that's important when you are the host, we do have that capability. But here's what I see now. There's an option in Zoom that allows you to have your guests come on even before you. And I was on a Zoom business conference just yesterday. And because the host allowed us to come on, you could not imagine the conversations. And we were trying to put comments in the chat saying, we can hear you. One person was just giving her kid the nth degree. And everybody was commenting, please, please. But if that person isn't there in front of the device, they can't see the comments, A, or B, they don't even have a clue. So I wanted to ask you, where should we be? And I don't know, maybe that's something that Dana can show us. So if you're able to come on before the host can come on and mute all of the instruments, where exactly will they find that button? And number two, where can they find the icon to know that they're chatting, and chatting with whom? Dana?
Yes, excellent point here. I'm going to share another quick little screen with you. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
This is my browser. So this is you can log into Zoom both on a desktop app, and you can also log into your Zoom account in a browser or in your favorite, Chrome or Internet Explorer or Edge, if that's your favorite. But in this particular environment, what I did was I basically just created a quick little meeting. Let's pretend that I'm trying to schedule a meeting. But one of the things that you'll notice, if you'll scroll through after you decide on what your meeting topic happens to be and when and where, you can do a couple of different things that I highly recommend, and Diva would probably agree with this. With the video for the meeting, I often go ahead and set my video to be off for any participants as they join, as well as the host. That way you are in better control as to what happens when you first come into view. And the same thing holds true for your audio. Last but not least, in that meeting option that you just mentioned, Cheryl, enable one to be able to join before the host. I will not turn that one on. I have control issues. So I happen to go ahead and sign up for whatever areas that I can control ahead of time. And then, of course, as Diva mentioned a few minutes ago, you can relax it once they're in. Once they're in, it's okay to turn on or off their audio and their video on their own. But to prevent any embarrassing moments, I definitely recommend that you either mute all of your participants on entry, or definitely not turn on that enable host or join before the host. I have issues with that. What do you think, Diva?
I completely agree. And, it's a little different. It depends on the client, right? I got to go back to the church because they want to be on an hour early. And I'm like, I'm not sitting there.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes I will allow people to join, but I also will enable a waiting room. So when I enable the waiting room, I can say, okay, I know that this is a pastor. I know that this is someone who needs access because they want to test out a couple things before we get started. And so enabling the waiting room, as you said, so I guess it's not enabling them to join, but enabling the waiting room allows me to give permission for certain people, even through my phone when I'm in the bed early in the morning, not ready to turn on my Zoom, I can still let them in so that way they can do what they need to do. So I completely agree. And I'll even say I've had an instance where someone's camera before the meeting started, their camera was off, but the picture that they had some inappropriate content on it. So I was able to put that person into the waiting room so that no one else saw that picture. And I knew once the event got started, they would turn their cameras on. So once the event got started, I then allowed them to rejoin, and luckily their camera was on, so no one saw the inappropriate image. So it's definitely good to filter people as they come in, because honestly, you never know what you're gonna get.
You never know. I completely concur. The wait room, I think, was established primarily for security purposes. I'm sure a number of you probably heard that Zoom experienced quite a few instances, especially within the school system logons, of people doing what's been now tagged as I think they call it Zoom bombing, or people who are inadvertently jumping into a meet room and they should not be there, or they were not, of course, invited. And to your point, Diva, you never know what you might be exposed to. So being that wait room for any meeting that you happen to have set up allows you to admit people. Even if you decide once everybody is in the wait room that you admit them all at once, as opposed to one at a time, it definitely gives you a better opportunity to manage.
Well, and on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we will join you back. For those of us on Facebook, we're just going to be very, very quiet and in touch with you. We're going to take a commercial break at this moment. So we'll see you back in a couple of minutes.
What have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals.
Wow.
And beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm going to do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
Okay, and we are back. I'm looking at you guys. Now, Dana, that would have been a good place for us to put our little commercial up on the video Zoom, so that people could see some of the tips that maybe you were referencing, or see the logos from your companies. And so, because it's a learning phase for us, we'll probably do that next time. So our audience will be like, I see them, but they're not saying anything. And that's because we're on commercial break. Right. So thank you so much. And look, we got to use the chat feature. So just as you all were introducing it, I can see a chat coming in from our programmer. So it is all, as Jeanette would always say, make sure that your brand is relevant. Make sure that you are in the room. You guys have talked about the appropriate way to be in the room. But when we were doing, right before the commercial break, let's see, Dana, it was your segment, Mind Your Mic and Video.
Yes.
Diva J gave us the perfect example of why before you just go on Zoom, don't just go on Zoom and walk away. Check to see what's on your phone. Check to see what's on your video. Check to see what others can see. So perfect point, because that was something that you wanted to talk about, Dana, paying attention to your video.
Absolutely.
What say you?
Absolutely. I highly recommend that you consider for any meeting, let's just make that your default for your profile, for any meeting that you might join or for any meeting that you might elect to host. Go ahead and set it up so that your mic is on mute when you start or when you enter the meeting room. I highly recommend that. And the same thing with the video. That way, again, you don't lose control. You're always in control. And that'll help with minding it.
Spoken from the control master.
And I wanted to add something to that, because some people like my video, they're wondering how it looks so clear. So if you're a person that wants to invest in kind of the quality of how your camera appears, if you could see my setup, you'd be like, whoa, I actually have lights. And if I can, I want to do a quick demo. When I don't have that lighting, this is what it really looks like.
Oh, wow.
So lighting is important, because when I have lighting, it changes the whole experience from the viewer's perspective. So one thing that I want to say is, if you don't have something that you could put in your virtual backdrop, you want the lighting of your room to be behind the camera. So a great way to do that, if you have a window, is to set your computer or your phone or whatever, set it up so that the window is behind it. That's going to give you the best natural lighting. If you are really interested in kind of taking the whole setup of your studio source, this is just a corner of the living room that I've now staged. I can go into detail offline. You can contact me and I can give you some suggestions of lighting kits to purchase. I actually have, while my Mac laptop has a web camera built in, I purchased an HD webcam that I connect to my laptop, which gives you the clarity of what you're looking at. And these are those secret little nuggets that you're looking at and you're like, how are they doing that? And you're driving yourself crazy. Absolutely. Trying to figure it out. But really, again, as it was before, it's so many different things working together. And it's not that you can't do it. It's just that you have to know what those things are. And it's important to talk to someone so that you don't get bamboozled and you're buying a $500 camera that you really don't need. So lighting, though, can really just instantly change the quality of your video as it presents to others.
Well, I love the way you gave us those points. So pay attention to where your window is, the importance of lighting, where it should be positioned so that we all look relatively nice. But I can see the difference on just on our Zoom image. I can see my lighting, but now that I'm looking at all three of you, Dana's is just crisp. And I can see your colors are seem to be more vibrant. And even though I can see everything, but I see kind of like a dullness on mine. And this is why our show is so important. Diva J, how can they reach you for a consultation on how to do a proper Zoom setup and the necessary equipment?
Absolutely. So, of course, you can definitely visit our website. That's where you can find all the information, marketingllc.com. You can also send me an email. It's my first name, Jeanette, at marketingllc.com. That's JEANETTE at marketingllc.com. I will say right about now, email is the best way to communicate because oftentimes I'm on Zoom calls. So it's rare that I'm picking up my phone. So I certainly would suggest visiting our website, taking a look at who we are, what we do, what we've done, and then also sending us over an email. We'll get right back with you to do that complimentary consultation.
Oh, did you all hear that? complimentary consultation. You heard it right here on Let's Talk Business with SJC. My co-host for the third hour of the day will give you a complimentary consultation. Make a note of that.
Yes.
Dana, for those that are looking at us and seeing how you prepared some nice screens for us, personalizing it for our show, for our business, how can they reach you?
Thanks so much. I am going to let me say this first. I'm going to call Jeanette shortly. Yeah, I definitely could use her services. I'll take advantage of that complimentary consultation readily. But if you're interested, if I can help in any way, shape, or form, either help your church group, small group, for example, learn how to use or how to navigate the Zoom platform, or any other software that you may need to invoke or put into the actual meeting to share PowerPoint or Word, or do a quick little collaborative effort on any one document, please let me know. I'm here. I'm right here in Tampa Bay. My email address is D as in Dana, Jenkins as in George Jenkins of Publix, at DK, that's D as in Dana, K as in Kentucky, consulting.net. I'm with Diva. It's kind of hard to get me on the phone, but my phone number is behind me here in my backdrop, and it's also on our website, dkconsulting.net. But I'm here to serve. I'm ready to go if you are.
That is awesome, and that's what this is all about. And we will again announce your contact information. All the more reasons for us to have that logo back there so that they can see it. If they come back to the screen, all they have to do is just take it down. The good news, and one of the things that we've done from the beginning of this show, we will always do a thank you post. And in our thank you post, we make sure that your contact information is there. So the same will happen today. So we'll make sure that that's there, live links so that they can go right to you or send that email to you or go to your Facebook page. I love the fact that we're just helping so many people, even those that are not on our Facebook page right now. They'll be able to come back and look at this video during their leisure and hear these great points that you all are sharing with us. And so, Dana, we talked about mining your microphone. Another thing, and this is something that we've been doing, and Jeanette kind of alluded to it a moment ago, the importance of testing your technology. Do you have a slide for that, or is that something you're going to talk about, Dana?
Oh, we can definitely go into greater detail for that next week, only because it will take a little while.
Okay.
Within any of these platforms, especially here in Zoom, you always have the ability to test the audio before you even start your meeting, which is great. I think all of the companies or all the publications that come up with these particular software platforms have done a great job of having that mindset to actually let someone test their audio before they get underway. So you'll be prompted. Try not to ignore it. Go ahead and actually test it. So you want to test to make sure that you can hear yourself well, and you want to test to make sure that you are also being heard. So test your mic as well as your speakers.
Great tips from the experts. And so we are fortunate that you're going to come back on and do part 2. And if we want to elaborate on that a little further, we can. Was there another screen that you wanted to show us, Dana? If so, we'll go to that. If not, we're going to go back to Diva J, because we want to do some key points during this reopening. And even though you may have seen our promo flyer and it says now open, we really want you to understand the importance of what it means in reopening your business. Part of that always comes back to branding your business. Right before the show, one of the things that Diva J always says in our show format is be present when you're in any networking event. Be in the room and let people know that you are in the room. So right before the show, I said to her, yes. And now that we're on Zoom, then it's going to be important for you to know that be present on Zoom. So Diva J, what have you? Oh, Diva J, is Diva frozen? Well, yeah, if Diva is,
Wonders.
Perhaps you can hear. Dana, we're going to come back to you.
Okay, that's the thing about internet connectivity. You never know. But
you never know.
Never know. And
but the show must go on.
The show continues. I'm sure she'll probably come back in just a moment. Sometimes that happens. But one of the things that we also talked briefly about, Cheryl, when you're setting up your meeting is to remember to go ahead and use some of those security elements that are also available to you with these platforms. The wait room is definitely one of them. The most important thing that I would recommend to anyone with a free or paid subscription, host, or being able just to be invited to a meeting and basically post as a participant, make sure that you're using passwords. So when you create a meeting, go ahead and use either the auto-generated password or, of course, set your own password. But try not to use the exact same one all the time because, again, you don't want someone to inadvertently gain access to that password and Zoom bomb you.
Awesome. Now this is interesting, and both of you have shared with us this technology. Sometimes it's on point. We lost Diva J, and I'm looking at my gallery screen, and I see a frozen Diva J, and I see that she's now back live.
Promise is only one of me, so I'm not sure how that's happening. But that's a part of, and I just wanted to say with the testing part, I kind of laughed because you can test until you're blue in the face. And when I say you can test this out, but technology is not guaranteed. And so
absolutely,
I see it just went away. So I think it's really important to have some forgiveness with others and have forgiveness with yourself. Like when I just dropped out, I was like, okay, Jeanette, here we go. Let's just get back in there, like don't panic, don't get discouraged, don't feel like your entire plan is ruined. Just kind of take a breath, start over, and get back in there. And I think that that's like the biggest thing I've had to deal with. As Dana said, I'm kind of on the control side. So I control everything I can, but when things happen, I've just learned to say, okay, here we go.
Well, you know what, Diva J, and we had brought you back on, and that's when we realized when you didn't say anything because your smile was like you were still there live. And I was sharing with our audience that you were going to share some additional nuggets and the importance of branding your business as we go through this whole virtual concept and living through COVID-19. And so that's what we were waiting for. So now you get the opportunity to do that, and we'll use your nuggets of knowledge to get us ready and to take us on out into the close of the show. And when you're done with nuggets of knowledge, because I say we have we still have a couple of minutes. We have about 5 more minutes. And I think what you guys are doing is phenomenal. I'm a business consultant, and if my clients are coming to me and after I've done what I can do for them, you better believe I am referring them to you guys. And that's so important. Even with our churches. Oh, this is what I wanted to say when we were talking about churches. So my service, my worship service, New Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church of Tampa Incorporated, with D. Reverend Larry L. Roundtree II, who serves as our pastor. The first time we Zoomed the service, I was like, oh man, this is really cool. My husband and I, we were in the kitchen, and I thought we were like ready for service, right? By that third time, it was, wait, we can do this on the big screen. Or wait, we can do this, in another room. We were on these little devices. And it was, oh. And you find yourself getting a little more relaxed. And I was like, wait, this is worship service before I go turn the stove on. I'm in church. So you have to put your mindset where you are as well. But what I thought was interesting, I said, are these people actually commenting? And you could see the hallelujahs, the praise gods, the amens, the you preaching, pastor. And before I knew it, you can speak that right into your phone. You can say amen and encourage the pastor and support your pastor, because there's someone there when it's not a one-man show, but in the church, there's a whole team. And so they can respond back to you, or they're reading the comments. And so he may say, if it's your birthday or your anniversary, put that in the chat, trying to allow us to see that we're trying to be together as much as we possibly can. And certainly want to honor and recognize those pivotal benchmarks in each other's lives, which we used to do that in our regular morning worship as well. So back to you, Jeanette. Nuggets of knowledge. Wait, Jeanette, I see you, but I don't hear you.
I wanted to say that it's important to first just kind of take a step back and think about your business. Think about the service or the product that it is you offer. And then how can you virtualize it? And I've said that before, but I think now that we're about 2.5 months into this new norm, people are realizing, oh, wait, I got to do something different. And so we've talked about Zoom a lot, and Zoom is a great way to kind of have that live engagement. But I have to say, it has to work with something else. After Zoom, what's next? Email marketing, not email harassment, email marketing. So making sure that there's quality content that's going into the email messaging that's serving as a resource to the receiver is important, but it's one of those things that you can do virtually. I'm happy to announce that InTouch News is an official client of Dash Marketing, where if you're on their listserv last month, you received the first electronic version of InTouch newspaper.
Yes.
And so they are doing exactly what they need to do to keep their readers informed, to keep the paper alive. And that's what I'm talking about. I think also if you're selling products, you may have a storefront. Now's the time to go into e-commerce. There's a lot of e-commerce platforms between Square, Shopify, Wix. Those are all very kind of easy, user-friendly platforms. Now, if we want to get more sophisticated, call Dash. We can help you with that. There's a lot of levels. That's my favorite saying right now, is that there's levels to this. And what we find is that with more and more people on social media at different levels, it's very easy to feel like you're not doing enough or you're not doing good enough. And so I like to end my nuggets by saying, if every day you take one step forward in the right direction, whether it's you've written your articles for your email newsletters, or you've decided to purchase a lighting kit for your camera, whatever it is, if you've taken one step forward, you've made progress. And progress is like a slow drip of water. As long as that drip continues, the bucket will fill up. So I want to be encouraging, because I know that this is so different for all of us. Even the most experienced of us are having issues. And so my nuggets are to not be afraid, but to start somewhere and to be have some forgiveness for yourself and others.
I believe you called that. Oh, and I see Daryl's hand up. So I think he wants to maybe come in and allude to what you were saying about us being a client. And it's great to know that, guess what? All four of us, as I look at this square, are clients of each other. And I believe, Diva J, you call that push forward.
Yes, yes, yes. You have
so
to.
Daryl, are you there? I saw his hand go up earlier. Either that or he's reminding us what time it is. So that being said, listen, I want to do a birthday shout out. The first hour of the day, my co-host is Derek Blue. And today is his birthday. So happy birthday, Derek Blue. Hope you have a fabulous, fabulous day. Knowing him, he's on a Zoom call right now. So to you, Dana, D&K Consulting, you are our guru. To Dash Marketing, who just said, listen, I'm helping InTouch News be able to communicate with its audience on a continuum. For SJC and Associates, for DSI Black Pages, this is how we're doing it. For the FAP group, we will certainly be utilizing all of your services so that we can come together in a seamless manner. So until next week, Diva J, have a great one. Dana, we'll see you back on next week. InTouch News, thank you to our Facebook family. Normally we try to shout you guys out, and maybe once we're off the air, because it's 1:30, we'll get to do that. So, my goodness, hey Maya, hello to you, Maya. Hello, blessings to some of you. Hello, Cece. Thank you so much. My goodness, Why me? Thank you for checking in and checking out our show. to Chuck White, to Paula, to all of you, to Melissa, to Renita, hello, to Linda. We appreciate all of you. I won't be able to go through all of the names, but just know that we love you. We thank you for taking your lunch break with us. I see Diva J, you logged on as well. But this show, Let's Talk Business with SJC, my co-host for the third hour, Jeanette Diva J. Hort Smith, my guest, Dana Holmes, and In Touch News. This show is a wrap. So that Zoom